It's amazing to think that God looks good having saved someone like you. But God receives glory through your story. Your story, as dysfunctional as it is and as broken as you all are, is something that He is very proud of. Yesterday we talked about the Heavenly Father. You see, it's not about your success, it's about His grace over your life. And so the glory goes to Him. Sons of the kingdom, for His glory. The Word of God tells us in Mark chapter 5 that there was a man most dysfunctional, most messed up. In Mark chapter 5, the story tells us that he was possessed by a legion of demons. Legion could be upwards of thousands, up to perhaps 6, depending on the size. So here was a man that was totally messed up. In chains he would cut himself, and he abode in the places of death, all the dead places of life. Dead dreams, dead hopes, dead family relationships, dead friendships. Everything that is dead was this man. And this man had an encounter with the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He runs into this bronze Galilean with the sun that had beaten on his brow and his hair laid back, and his disciples. He comes onto the scene. And this bronze Galilean delivers this man. Son of the kingdom.
Share your story. Lord, His glory.
This man was so moved with the things that this Galilean had done in delivering him from this demonic oppression that he said, Lord, I beg you, I beseech you, I implore thee, let me go with thee. Let me go with thee. Now, the Lord had His disciples, but the Lord gave this man a different mission. When the Lord called you, He perhaps didn't call you into ministry, but I say this to you. Wherever you stand, wherever you work is your pulpit.
Yes, sir.
You have all been called in the ministry. You have all been called as priests and holy men of God. Lest you forget that the call of God is for you as much as it is for anyone else. So was this man called to the pulpit? He wasn't called into the apostles' arena or boat, but he was still called. Because what happens at the end here is that when the man comes to Jesus there in Mark chapter 5, he says to Jesus, Lord, let me go with you. And Jesus didn't let him go with him. He sent this new son of the kingdom to go home, he says to him. Go to your friends, son of the kingdom, and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how He has had compassion on you. Go and tell others. What is it about us that we forget to tell our story? We forget to share the mighty things that God has done for us. So often we want to be expositors of truth. We want to do exegesis or prophetic interpretation and eschatology and soteriology with our hermeneutics. And apply some excellent homiletics. Guess what? I don't care about all that. I want to know what Jesus has done in your life. Amen. Sons of the kingdom. The Bible says in verse 20, and he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. Now you would think that that's the end of the story, but it's not. He's never mentioned again there in the Gospels. That's the end of his story, apparently. But you find that when you get to Mark chapter 7, there's a man that approaches Jesus in Tyre and Sidon, where Jesus went. And this man, it tells us in Mark chapter 7, verse 31, that he was a mute. And it says that they brought, verse 32, they brought to him one who was deaf and had an impediment in his speech. And they begged him to put his hands on him. How did they know to bring this man to this Galilean. How did they know? Who told him? He heard whose testimony? Can you imagine with me for a minute, the man is a demoniac. He is naked. He is in chains. He is bound. He is a man that is the perversion of the perverse. I mean, he is the worst of the worst. And this man, with all his dysfunction, is delivered. And he goes home. Yes, he had a mother. Easy to forget that the demoniac had a mother. And yes, he had a father. And yes, he was a son. When he went back, there was a glow in his face. The great things that Jesus has done for him. When he went to his barber, when he went to his tailor and said, "Clothe me." Your testimony as a son of the kingdom is the greatest revelation of the love of God in the universe. There is no greater thing. And when you look at the book of Revelation, it says, and it talks about the word, the power of testimony. Your story matters. Your story is yours alone. And yes, he came for the demoniac, but he also came for Nicodemus, the religious right. He also came for church folk as much as he did for the demoniac. God came for you, found you in your dysfunction, and the story's not over. He's just getting started. The Bible says that he has begun a good work and he was going to complete it. You know, when you look at, and remember, this demoniac was sent to wherever he was, and he told his story. If you're in the medical profession, your clinic is your pulpit. You're an assembly line worker, where you stand in that assembly line is your pulpit. Wherever you stand is holy ground. Don't think for a minute it's up to the preachers. No, you are the preacher. Your story is what God needs the world to hear. That's how he receives his glory. He says, I can find the men of death and dysfunction and depravity, and I can make them into something new, and the devil can't stand it because they testify of the Father's love. So great is the Father's love. And as we read last night, we shall be called sons of God. Sons of God. Look at the man next to you. He is Son of God. Bam! Hallelujah. He is. His story is unique, like no other. But you know, you would think that the sons of God were really impressive. You know, the demoniac, some people say, well, the demoniac was really messed up, Pastor, but I'm not as messed up as they are. Well, maybe you need to consider, for example, Luke chapter 9. Now, here's some religious folks. They have been with Jesus. They're two of his disciples. These have been called to be with Jesus. And they got upset because someone disagreed with them. How do you act when someone disagrees with you at your house? It's your house. You pay the bills. How about at your church? Someone disagrees with you. Well, I'll tell you, these select disciples, someone disagreed with them. And I think some of you would have done what they did. And I might have been next to you. Because they came to Jesus and said, Lord, we went over here and talked to these people, and they didn't accept us. So, dear Lord, Jesus, call fire down from heaven and burn them all. Men, women, and children. Burn them. Because they didn't listen to me. Some selection process, would you say? Jesus says, you guys, you don't know the spirit that you are of. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. Some of you say, well, Son of the Kingdom, share your story for His glory. Perhaps you're like Peter. Peter that was ready to die by the sword, but couldn't let his pride aside. He couldn't lay it down. He had to deny Jesus. But yet that was the Son of the Kingdom. You know, let me tell you, Son of the Kingdom, just briefly my story. I don't say it much, and it's a shame. I should say it more often. Some of you have known me for over 20 years and don't know my story. But I'm going to tell you, your story is the greatest thing in the universe, in the greatest way to glorify the Father. Amen. You've got to tell your story. If you don't tell your story, it doesn't impress folks to tell them how much you know, until they know how much you care, until they know how much the Father cares for you. As you heard, my story starts in Philadelphia. Came when I was 4 from Cuba, but don't know much at that point. I grew up in the church, Seventh-day Adventist church. My parents are excellent Adventist folk. Mom now rests in the Lord. But beautiful, beautiful father. But when I was about 15, 16, I don't know what happened, but I began to hate the church. I hated religious people. Anyone that had a Bible in their hand, I literally wanted to rip the Bible out of their hand. Just didn't like those folks. So I was totally out of the church by the time I was 17. Angry as could be. I hated people. Didn't like anyone. Got married when I was 20. And had my first son at 21. I had a trucking company. At a young age, I bought my own trucks and started my own transportation business. And things were going well for a while until I got greedy. And I figured and discovered that you can make a whole lot of money transporting small packages from South Florida to the Northeast. Well, I was licensed to do it. So I was doing this, and then my business that began well suddenly turned into a laundering business. And it was going rather well with the hate and bitterness that I had in me. My beautiful wife worked for the Philadelphia Police Department during that time. It was beneficial. And when I went to South Florida to close a deal that was going to be the largest one I had ever closed, I ran into some folks from South Florida that are familiar with this African religion that has worked its way to the Caribbean called Santeria, sort of black magic. And these people I'm closing the deal with, in my angry state of mind, I just didn't like folks. Didn't like them at all. I have no problem eliminating anyone, because it would have been a pleasure to take someone out of this life. It just didn't matter. Well, these folks say to me, we're going to do the deal with you, but on one condition. And the condition is that you bathe in this water. Like, bathe in what water? They said, we want you to bathe in this water that has flowers and some perfumes and rose petals. And you just dip in the water, come out, and you let the water dry you naturally. And then the scent of these perfumes and flowers is going to bring around you some spirits to protect you from what what's happening in the deal we're closing. And we need you to do this for our safety and yours. Well, you know, praise God for Sabbath school, amen? My children's ministry's teacher. You know, because I knew enough to know that even though I didn't like God, I certainly didn't like the devil. So I told those folks, I said, no, I'm not doing it. Well, you know, if you don't do it, we can't do business with. I said, we won't do business together. You're not hurting me, I can find someone else. Then as I was leaving, they said, okay, Mr. Labrador, hold on just a minute, don't leave. But it'll be okay. I said, I'm not baiting. All right, no worries. So the business transaction continued. The next day, I called my lovely wife and said, honey, how you doing? I'm heading home soon. And she says, I'm not going back to our house. I said, what? She said, I'm not going back. She said, last night, something happened in my house that I will not go back in it until you get back. And she told me it was so fearful, she got my son and she left the house. She'll stay with my dad. Their house. I told her she probably had something to eat and didn't agree with her. And I went back home eventually, and I went to sleep that night. My 357 was always with me. Model 19, nickel plated. Yeah, I had to pawn it to pay my way through school. But anyway, that night I realized something, men, that changed my life forever. What I realized was that God and the Father's love was something that no one had really ever taught me. I was told that if you walked into the theater, the angels would wait outside. You were on your own. You ever hear that? That's a lie. Because the things I was doing in an effort to control some of the trade in the northeastern side, there was no God there, supposedly. But that night, I had a very supernatural dream. In the dream, my hand was in the mouth of a lion that was swallowing my hand. And I was wrestling in the foyer of the church, trying to get the lion off me. And in this dream, my father was praying for me at a distance. And he couldn't see the lion that was swallowing my arm. And it was because I was closing some deals with people from Colombia that the shipments would move into massive amounts, enough to cover the whole Northeast. And my hand was in the mouth of the lion, and in the dream my father was praying for me. The reason I say that to you is, men, don't ever stop praying for your children. Don't ever stop praying. There is power in the prayers of the priest of the home. When you pray for your kids, the heavens are awakened. Amen. And he had been praying for my soul. He knew how lost I was. When I woke up, I discovered what my wife had said was true. There was a presence of some sulfuric, demonic presence in that house that scared me to death. And I didn't know how to handle it because you can't shoot it. Couldn't shoot it. Can't fight it. But it was oppressive. And as the time went, and I'm awake in this bed here trying to figure out what to do and how to get myself out from this danger zone I'm in, the only thing that it whispered to me is, take that gun and shoot your own head. whispers of how deplorable I was. It reminded me that I'm unworthy. I did something that I grabbed the phone in the dark. There were no cell phones at that time. Some of you don't know what a touch-tone phone is. It's a big box, little numbers on it. I grabbed the phone, and dialed my dad, and I said, "Dad, I haven't asked you this in years, but I need you to wake Mom up and stop praying for me. It's a big night tonight."
Testify.
My dad said, "Son, right now, we're slipping to our knees." I hung up the phone. Now, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story because it's my testimony, and I'm sticking with it. But what happened next changed my world. Because within a few minutes, I don't know the time, I'm wide awake, I'm alert, I don't know how to get rid of this demon spirit. Glory to God. Let me tell you something. Another spirit came in. This spirit was different. And I'm going to be real honest and transparent with you. I was scared before. Now I was really scared. Whoa, man. I was so petrified. Holiness was in the room. And there was nothing holy in that house. And I discerned a little short dialogue between the spirit world, where it kind of went something like this. "What are you doing here?" He called me. He called me. "Yeah, but what he wants, only I could give him." But when he was a child, he was dedicated to me. Sons of God, sons of the kingdom, share your story for his glory. For his glory. I was dedicated. Don't ever allow the child dedication to go by as another part of the program. You are setting that child apart for something holy and most sacred. Because once you give something to God, you can't take it back. So when you dedicate someone and lay hands on someone, recognize the power of what you're doing. The spirit world recognizes it. So should you, priest of the Most High God. And then the statement was, it was up to me. Because that statement that he said that I was dedicated to him, I was at a crossroad. If I went one direction, our life would be over. We're very wealthy, we're very dead, we're very long term in prison. But one thing struck me was God's faithfulness. When I called, he answered. So I chose Jesus. I chose the Lord. I said, "Lord, I choose you. Tonight, I choose you." The demon spirit and those, it left temporarily. But the harassment went on for months. Next morning, the man that was in Colombia was in my office waiting for me. The secretary says, he's in the office, he's been here all morning, because I didn't go in until late morning because I was all night confessing my sins, weeping before the Lord on my face before a holy God. I didn't know how holy he was, I didn't know how beautiful he was, I didn't know how loving he was. What is it about religion that we start talking theology and we forget the beauty of our God? See, turn me on to God.
Yes.
Everything else will follow.
Yes, sir.
in sin. I saw a God that responded and protected me when I called on Him.
Amen.
I said, Lord, I swear my allegiance to you. So the next day I'm at the office, the man from Colombia is back. He says, Mr. Labrador, you're in. We got it all worked out. You lay the terms on, you tell us how much, you tell us how you want it shipped, you tell us how you want it prepared, you're in. We're ready. So you know what I did? This is going to impress you as a big bad man, right? And I am. I started crying in front of him. So I started crying in front of him. And this guy, I don't remember his name, Ricardo says to me, what are you doing? He said, you're in. Tried to get myself together. And I said, you're too late. Last night I gave my life to Jesus. Too late.
Tell the story.
And I start crying.
Yes, sir.
This is, guys, he's probably killed other men, I don't know. But I can't stop crying. I'll never forget what God said to me. He couldn't handle too much of this. So he got up and walked out. But before he left, he said, Mr. Labrador, I knew him once. And I never saw him again. But all hell broke loose.
Amen.
My trucks, I had a truck in the New Jersey Turnpike, a little piston, brand new truck with a 3406B Caterpillar. Boom! New motor for a brand new truck. Another truck in the Carolinas, blew the engine as well. Another truck that was in Pennsylvania, the west side of Pennsylvania, I drove under a low underpass, destroyed everything in the trailer and the cargo and everything, just like a sardine can, opened it up. Driver went under it, high speed. Contracts all canceling. Suddenly I started getting sued from people I didn't realize were still upset at me. My world was coming to an end. So I made a decision. Told my wife, pack a bag, it's all coming down. Everything's over. We're going to Disney World. That's all we had left. Just a little bit of money. Had to go to Disney World. I said, let's just have a vacation. Because there's no stopping this train. This thing is going down. It's going down fast. And we went to Disney World. And it was there in Disney World in Kissimmee, Florida. Sleeping in the hotel bed there that night. Still remember it clearly. But the Lord said to me, first He called me. Now I wouldn't answer for hours because I thought I was losing my mind. And I said, no, this stuff doesn't happen. But it does. And finally, I answer and say, yes, Lord. And he called me to become a minister. There ain't no way. There's no way that you can call someone like this to do something like that. And he said, this is the only thing he said to me. He never said anything else after. He just said, take the first step.
Amen.
Take the first step.
Yes.
Take the first step. I said, okay, Lord, take the first step. I've been taking the first step for about 30 years now.
Amen.
And I'm still here. One step at a time. One step at a time. But just as I wrap up, because of time, the next challenge was trying to convince my Philadelphia Police Department wife, 4th generation Roman Catholic, that she was going to be the wife of a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. Lord have mercy. So my first instinct was the old man instinct, which was, you know, I'm the one that pays the bills and runs this house. I'm the head of the house. Woman, you got to do what I say. She's from Puerto Rico. Yeah, so that wasn't going to work. And the Lord said to me, He said, "Mary, I want you to continue taking the first step. Leave your wife to me." It wasn't easy to do, because I was so used to being in control of everything around me, until I realized control was an illusion. None of us are really in control. It's all the mercy of God. So I said, "Okay, Lord, I want to trust you with this." I went ahead and I signed up for school. Yeah, I was going in as a freshman. Good thing I finished high school, amen? Barely finished it, but I remember we were down to the last few weeks, and Evelyn wouldn't make a decision. She wouldn't commit. The Lord sent her a dream. And in the dream, He showed her what I was coming into the house and the way I treated her. By the way, I want to say this just as a footnote for you men. Your godliness and Christ-likeness is seen in how you treat your wife more than how you pray in the pulpit.
Yes.
You got to take care of your woman the right way. So, Lord sent her this dream, and in the dream, I enter, I'm abusive, I'm verbally abusive, physically abusive, and I go in to take a shower. But in the dream, as she's weeping, battered and bruised, I come in again. But there was difference this time. She saw what was possible through Christ for a man. And I came in with gentle hands and compassion. And I sat with her on the ground and I held her. And I comforted her in the name of the Lord. She woke up the next morning and said, "When are we going to Southern?" God can do anything. She and I were baptized, and we went off and began our journey. And that faithful, virtuous woman whose worth is beyond rubies has never, ever looked back from that journey. Now, God is not finished yet. The stories of His deliverance time and time again allow me to just tell you this way. He is so faithful. Don't you ever doubt the Father's love through the Son. The God we serve is so awesome. He has never let me down, not once. Not one time. Because He's that good. And now He says to the sons of the kingdom,
That's right.
I love you this much to declare to the universe that I took you out of your dysfunction and your brokenness and your lostness, even if it was in the church. And I'm going to show the universe what is possible through my grace, through my love. And now, sons of the kingdom, I call you forth to share your story for my glory. You see, sons of the kingdom, you've got something to tell the world. And if you don't, there is no place He can't reach you. There is no sin too great that He cannot overcome. For wherever sin does abound, grace does much more abound. There is no dysfunctional perversion you cannot be delivered from. For He takes the sin out of Lynn and the cuss out of guts. He takes the immoral man and makes him holy. He purifies your thoughts. And I say this as a witness to you today as I share my story for His glory. He can take an immoral man and purify him so much that even his dreams are sanctified. Hallelujah. That's the God we serve. We are sons of that Father that I declare to you today, who saved you from the pit, from the darkness, brought you into His marvelous light. There is no God like our God. There is no King like King Jesus. That's why I say to you that in my own journey as a son of the kingdom, I share my story for His glory. I say to you, tell the world the things that He has done for you. There is no arguing with it. There is no denying it. You are loved. You are loved. And whether you're the demoniac or Nicodemus, whether you're John, James, or Peter, or Thomas, doubter, He loves you. Amen. And He can do things in your life you've never dreamed or imagined. If He did it for messed up me, and He's not done yet, by the way. So if you don't like what you see, He's still working on it. But if He did it for me, He can do it for you. Men, I want you to rise. Turn to 2 or 3 men around you and say, Son of the kingdom.